Hi everybody, what's up? I thought I'd probably do this before I go out and get my flu shot and return some Redbox movies. That'll probably going to cost me, not that much, but still, not that much of a deal. I should have turned them in last night. But I thought I'd kind of do a little bit of a review. You can see it right up there. It's my review, basically my review, and thoughts on Nostagia Critic's, Doug Walker's Disneycember, which he did last year and kind of ran into the beginning of this year. But you'll probably just want to make sure there's no coffee smell on it, because I spilled coffee on the cover, but I cleaned it. But you're probably wondering, what is Disneycember? Well, in case some of you may have missed out on it, Doug Walker, Nostagia Critic, whatever you want to call him, did a month-long, over a month-long series where he reviewed about 2 to 3, maybe 4 at times, Disney feature films a day, basically out of the animated feature film chronological list. He did a review out of the chronological list, and he like I said, he did a lot of them. He did a fair share of them. But basically, he did most of them, with a few exceptions. You know, there are a few exceptions in between. Like, there's no Chicken Little, there's no Bolt. But he did mostly the 2D ones, like he said, with a few exceptions. And he also did a few bonus features as well. So a few bonus highlights and reviews. So, yeah. If you haven't heard about it but you want to check it out, I highly recommend going on YouTube. There are two people as far as I know that have actually taken all the reviews and put them together as one feature-length video. One is the Account to Second, but they did it sort of backwards, because I guess of copyright and legal reasons. They basically did a backwards copy of it. So in other words, like, okay, you could read this, right? You could read it says Disneycember, right? But the way they did it, the Disney would be on this side and the December would be on this side. So in other words, it would be backwards. And again, like I said, they did that for, I guess, certain reasons. The other person, I can't think of the name right now, they did the whole thing, you know, just as it originally is presented in multiple parts. So they did everything. They did every single one. And some people even put 2 to 3 reviews, put all 3 reviews that came out a day as one video. So in other words, if he would do 2 to 3 5-minute reviews of 3 Disney features, they'd put the 15 minutes worth in one video and upload it onto the YT. But again, he did this last December and went into a little bit at the beginning of this past January. And I have to say that, in my honest opinion, he did a decent job. He did a decent job, gave his honest to God opinion about how he felt about a few things. He basically highlighted the fact that, you know, he likes how certain movies were done. He gave his thoughts. I definitely enjoyed how he gave his thoughts on how certain movies, you know, how he felt about certain movies and how he felt they should be presented. Like for example, when he got to, when he got to Saludos Amigos, Three Caballeros, Make My Music, and Melody Time, Fun and Fancy Free may even be in there, but mostly the ones I just mentioned, Saludos Amigos, Caballeros, Make My Music, and Melody Time, he basically felt that those were more enjoyable if you just saw them as the as the 7 to 10 minute shorts that they were meant to be. And I always remember some of them like the Operic Whale, or Casey at the Bat, or Casey Bats Again. I always remember them as being regular showings on, like, the Donald Duck Show. I can't think what the name was, but it was the Donald Duck Show. Donald Duck's Quack Attack, I think, that's what it was. And the Mickey Mouse one. Mouseworks, or whatever it was called. Well, it wasn't called Mouse. It was called something. I can't think of it. But it was always enjoyable. I always liked it. That's how I always enjoyed them, because that's how I saw them. And I really didn't know until later on that they were part of feature films. But you got to remember, at the time, when these feature films came out, it was all due to compilations. It was all due to budget. You see, Disney could still do feature-length films, and they proved that later on. But it was all due to the fact that they were still recovering, because they basically, the studio was used for the war, so they were still financially recovering, and they wanted to take their time. They wanted to test the audience out to see if they were still interested, and that's when they started to go back after those package films, if you will. They started to go back to the feature-length films. And again, I like how he kind of describes his likes and dislikes about certain films. Like when he got to Peter Pan, he said the one thing he liked he said the slapstick there, and this is definitely agreement. This is why I have Peter Pan. This is why I now own the movie. Then when he got to Peter Pan, he said the slapstick with Smee, Captain Hook, and the Gator is some of the best slapstick you're going to see on film. And that the romance between Wendy and Peter is like a real romance between teenage boys and girls, or young boys and girls. Basically the boy is a little bit more reluctant than the girl. Like the girl wants to kiss the boy doesn't want to get kissed because he's, not ready for that. So it's really, Doug, Nostagia Critic, whatever you want to call him, definitely gives an honest opinion about a lot of the films. And when he gets into the 80s, and mostly like with the Black Cauldron, he's like, he points out that nowadays it does have a cult following, but back then it was, so much was put into it, so much hype and money and everything, that as soon as it came out, its opening weekend, it lost to the Care Bears movie. Yeah, it lost to a movie based on a greeting card idea that was turned into a toy idea that was turned into several specials and series. And basically what he's saying is that it lost to a movie based on a greeting card concept, toy concept, that got turned into a toy concept, got turned into animated specials and animated television series concept. So basically he's saying that's how bad it bombed at the box office. And I liked how he also acknowledged that it seemed that after Walt Disney, God rest his soul, passed away, when he did in 1966, that it seems like he kind of he basically acknowledged that Disney was kind of going through an up and down hill. It's like they would be up one year with a hit animated movie, then they would go downhill with the next. They would go up, then they would go down. They would go up, they would go down. And I like how he acknowledges that. And like he said, they did kind of have that same kind of trend in the 80s with Black Cauldron, Fox and the Hound, Black Cauldron, Great Mouse Detective. What else? I'm trying to see here. Oliver and Company. And then he said as soon as they hit The Little Mermaid, that's when things started to get back into what Walt Disney had always been planning, what Walt always wanted to see. And The Little Mermaid, I do agree, brought back the renaissance of Disney animation. Like, this is what fans wanted to see. This is the animation. This is the Disney we had been waiting for. And The Rescuers Down Under, even though it didn't do as good as Little Mermaid, still kept that going, because he even acknowledged, and other people like Huey Two-More acknowledges this. They say as soon as you see The Rescuers Down Under and you compare it to its predecessor, the first Rescuers movie, it's like The Rescuers Down Under blows all that out of the water. It blows the 1977 Rescuers right out of the water. Yes, the song for The Rescuers got nominated for an Academy Award, no doubt about that. Because one thing Disney can do right sometimes is, even if the movie is disappointing at the box office, one thing they can do right is make sure it's got some good music and maybe a good song to go along with that movie. But, Doug basically, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think he did agree with the fact that the rescuers down under blew the original rescuers out of the water. I mean, the animation and everything was just superb. And there's no doubt you can agree on that. I mean, I watched the original rescuers and I enjoyed it, believe it or not. I did like it. I did like it. I like the Madame Medusa character a lot and how funny she could be. And how sadistic, how evil and sadistic she could be, but how funny she could be at times. But when I see the rescuers down under, I say to myself, that's a better movie. That's the definitive Rescuers movie. Yeah, it's a sequel. Yeah, it's a theatrical sequel, but that is the definitive Rescuers movie. There's no doubt about it. You cannot deny that. And I thought it was really, really cool with the animation, how he acknowledged that, and how, again, he acknowledged how Little Mermaid, revived the Disney animation, and how Little Mermaid helped the Disney animation enter its Renaissance era, its golden age, whatever you want to call it. And the fact that you had hit after hit after hit. I mean, you had Little Mermaid be the first, Rescuers be sort of a mediocre hit, but it was still a hit. Rescuers Down Under, that is. Then you had Beauty and the Beast, which became the first animated feature to be nominated for Best Picture Academy Award. For an Academy Award, be nominated for the Best Picture Academy Award. And that was a hit. Then you had Aladdin, which was a hit. Then you had Lion, which blew everything out of the water. It became the greatest 2D animated film of all time. Then you had, and he said that those films up to Lion King were the best that Disney had ever done. And then he gives his honest opinion. He basically said, and even though there are people like me that like some of the movies that he kind of said were the downfall of the renaissance of Disney animation, at least he gave his honest opinion. It's like he said, with Pocahontas, it was okay, it was a good movie, but it wasn't what did. Basically, in his eyes, it wasn't exactly what Disney was looking for. Basically, it's like Pocahontas was good, but it felt like it was kind of downing. It was kind of like a downgrade when it comes to movie quality, when it came to the Disney animated features. And then his honest opinion about the fact that he likes The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but felt that, hey, if you're trying to get back in the good graces of people with your animation, Hunchback may have not been the best idea. And I love the honesty, and I know I'm repeating and I do apologize if I'm repeating myself here, but I love his honesty where he says, he gives Disney credit for having, as he puts, the balls to do a movie like Hunchback and have the imagery and stuff that it did, and have the tone of the movie and the story done the way it was. And he did acknowledge, and the one thing he was honest about, is that even though he likes it, the one thing he can't stand is the gargoyles characters. He said it would have been great if they were looked at as being imaginary and only being in Quasimodo's head, but the fact that they are real and that they actually helped fight off the guards, the attack on Notre Dame, it's, that he said, with the exception of them and maybe a few other things, it is a great movie and he likes it. And he says it's ballsy by doing what they did. And then when he gets to Hercules, I mean, again, the overall thing about this series is about his Disneycember thing that he did, was he was honest all the way through with all his reviews. And when he got to Hercules, he said, okay, Pocahontas was sort of the downfall, Hunchback was okay, but it probably wasn't the best way to get your audience back into your animation. And then when he got to Hercules, he said Hercules killed it. Killed any momentum they would have had. Because he basically felt Hercules was like a mixed bag. It's like you're trying, and he basically said Hercules was like, with Hercules you were trying to mix gospel with Las Vegas. You were trying to mix the artistry of Scarface with gospel Las Vegas and whatever and whatever the hell else you can come up with. Maybe Superman, if you will. And he even uses that comparison. So basically he felt it was a mixed bag, and that's why it wasn't so good. And the people you picked, like Danny DeVito, he said, Danny DeVito, he basically said, was not trying to play Philatides. No, he was playing himself. Danny DeVito was playing Danny DeVito. You know, and he said that Meg didn't have much of a, wasn't that interesting either. And, you know, to me, I liked Hercules. In my honest opinion, I liked it, and I know a lot of other people that did. You know, and maybe it's the fact that it is sort of like a superhero-like movie, and he does acknowledge that that's kind of where superheroes came from, Greek mythology. But to me, I liked it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was cool. I mean, that's why I have it. So, I was okay with it. But I do respect Doug's honest opinion on it. All the other movies he came on, it's like he was okay with Mulan. He liked the heck out of Tarzan. There was no doubt about that. Fantasia 2000, he was kind of mixed on, but liked it a little bit. Like certain aspects of it was okay, certain aspects of it wasn't. You know. Let's see. Emperor's New Groove is like he said. You know, he wasn't. In the honesty he gave about the movies like Emperor's New Groove, he's like, I wasn't too sure about it, but when I saw it, I thought, it's okay, it's cool. And then the same thing with Atlantis. You know, he thought, well, it's probably not that good, but to me, it's a guilty pleasure. And then Treasure Planet, he was kind of mixed with, like, oh, it's okay, but not real. It's like, okay, the most of it's okay, but the first part of it's like, yeah. I mean, basically he acknowledges the fact that the reason Treasure Planet started out the way it did, like with the skyboarding and everything by Jim Hawkins, I think that's what his name is. It's basically Disney's trying to cater to what it was hot at the time, what was cool at the time. And, you know, and such. You know, he does acknowledge Lilo and Stitch was a good movie and, you know, likes the concept there and how the different location, the location this time is in Hawaii. It was like a real world kind of thing. And then when he got to Brother Bear and Home on the Range, it's like, oh, God, you know. You know, it's like, I mean, Brother Bear he tolerated, but it was like more like he's thinking, you got to be kidding. You know, it's like he tolerated the first, it's like he was okay with the first half of the movie, but then the second half just went, and then the fact that he can't stand the Phil Collins songs, it's like he'd be okay if it was just a musical score going over, like the scene where, I can't think of the main character's name, tells the little cub that he was the one that killed the mother. So, it's like, you know, he didn't like that. He didn't like the fact that you have Phil Collins singing over it, and it's like, again, it's like he's okay with the first half of Brother Bear, but then he's not. And that's a great, honest opinion. You don't usually get that, even with internet reviewers. And then when he got to Home on the Range, basically his honest opinion about Home on the Range was, Home on the Range was for little kids. Me, honestly, I thought it was okay. I thought it was an average okay Disney film. You know, I liked it. It does have its funny moments, and it's not just for little kids. It's for all ages. I'll be honest with you. I think just the way it was animated and the way it was described and the way it is at times, it's, you know, what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do? I mean, Disney was going up against big-time films like the Shrek, like DreamWorks. You know, DreamWorks were bringing out Madagascar's and Shrek movies and stuff like that. So what are you going to do? What more can you expect? He did like the take with Enchanted. He liked Enchanted. He liked the fact that it was sort of like you know, Disney was using Enchanted to sort of make fun of all the classic Disney films. You know, and he liked how it kind of starts out as a 2D animated film, but then gets thrusted in our world and kind of, you know, reverses the roles and stuff like that. And he likes the characteristics of all the characters, even the villain. And he likes how the villain kind of uses every single cliche in the movie. It's really, really cool. That's one movie I do have to get onto DVD eventually. I think I have the ROM somewhere. I think I have it, you know, on a DVD ROM somewhere. I just got to find it. If not, I'll just torrent it maybe and use it like that. You know, he was cool with Princess and the Frog, except he He was okay with Princess and the Frog. Thought it was a different and unique take on who the princess was and all that. But he did feel that there was some unnecessary things like the funeral for the fly and who died and everything and this and that. But overall, he thought everything else was cool about it. Winnie the Pooh, he thought was all right. Thought the animation was good, and felt that it was kind of originally thought it should have been more like a sequel, but basically more than a reboot. But whatever it was, he was all right with Christopher Robin's new design, where he kind of had the pupils, the Disney eyes, instead of just the regular black pupils, which we're used to seeing with him. So overall, he was okay with that. He was okay with the film and loved the animation. And then the bonus films that he got into, he's like with Dinosaur, which I thought was good. I thought the CGI was tremendous in Dinosaur. He didn't really like it that much because it was basically the same thing we had seen before. And basically said that Land Before Time, which came out around 87, 88, was a better quality dinosaur film than this. And, he does have, and I will agree, maybe Land Before Time does have a better story, but, Disney was doing something different. And when you saw the trailers and you saw everything going on, I went and saw the movie and I thought it was good. I thought the story was all right. I thought the animation, the CGI animation making the dinosaurs look as real as they were, was superb, beyond belief. And he does acknowledge that there are some good characters in there, like the adoptive mother and all that. And there are some certain scenes in there, that work, but overall, in his honest opinion, was just the same old cliche stuff we'd seen before. And then when he got to the other two bonuses, he did a Goofy movie, and basically acknowledges that at first he wasn't, too sure about it, and that he didn't. And here's the thing: let me tell you this. I saw a Goofy movie when it came out. I did. I saw it twice in the theaters. I saw it at the Westridge 8 in Topeka, Kansas, and then I saw it the second time at the Gage 4 theaters in Topeka, Kansas. And I loved it. I loved the movie. I really did. I thought it was great. And he said that he didn't, and his honest, and the one thing, again, I know I'm repeating myself here, the one thing Doug said in his honest opinion was, he was just, like me, he was just getting into high school when the movie came out. I was already in high school. I was in my freshman year. I was in the last 2 months of my freshman year. And he had just entered high school too, so go figure. So he pretty much was like, I was too old to even want to go. Basically, he had the mentality of, I'm entering high school, I shouldn't really see a movie with Goofy, and I shouldn't really go to the theaters to see a movie with Goofy in it. But and that was a great honest opinion, because there are a lot of, kids, at that age, even today, that if you were to bring out a movie with Goofy or Mickey or whoever, or any kind of Disney iconic character, that, maybe you wouldn't want to go see it, because, you're trying to be cool and all that. And Doug is basically like, I didn't see it when I was in high school, but I did see it years later, and from what he saw, he liked. He liked the animation. He said he thought some of the songs, like After Today and Eye to Eye, were good. He liked the chemistry between Goofy and Max, the relationship there. And he did acknowledge that it was a good movie. It was, as he put it, cute, but it was a good movie. And it's energized. It's good for kids and family to watch. And he loved the animation, especially the opening. And he's saying, would you ever expect to see something like this in a movie starring Goofy, especially in a movie which is basically, as he acknowledged it, just like we all acknowledge it, which is basically Goof Troop the movie. A Goofy movie, let's face it, is Goof Troop the movie. As we all know, if we read it online, the only reason they changed it to a Goofy movie is because they didn't want to face the same kind of failure that they faced with DuckTales. So I like his honest opinion on there, and I like his acknowledgement of the fact that it is Goof Troop the movie. And I like how he acknowledged his honest opinion on the fact that he wishes the peg and pistol and chainsaw and waffles were in the movie too. But again, what are you going to do? And I guess if he looks more into it, he'll realize. And one thing for Doug, if he watches any of our videos here on YouTube, is you look a little bit more further into it, do a little bit more research, you'll find out that Disney did base it off Goof Troop, but wanted to distance themselves a little from Goof Troop because. Okay, no other phone there. Anyway, I like his honest opinion, but if he does a little bit more research, like I said, he'll find out that they wanted to distance themselves from Goof Troop, even though the movie is Goof Troop the movie. They wanted to distance themselves a little bit. So, like with the title, by changing the title to a Goofy movie, to the point that they probably wouldn't, hopefully, face the same failure and box office failure that they had with DuckTales. Which they didn't, thank God. But I like his honesty there was tremendous. I like his honesty with the movie. And then Who Framed Roger Rabbit, again, gives his honest opinion. He's like, what more can you say about it? I mean, he honestly said the same thing as we all said. What more can you say about that movie? What more can you say that has not been said? He likes the story. He likes the concept and everything. And he does acknowledge that, live action with animation is not, wasn't a new thing at the time. It had been done before, but not to the point that this was. And also I like how he does acknowledge the fact that when you look at it, this is basically the movie that as a kid you wanted to see. You wanted to see all your favorite classic cartoon characters together. You wanted to see Disney characters associated with Warner Brothers and Paramount and Hanna-Barbera characters. You wanted to see Mickey Mouse standing side by side or side by side with Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. So it was really basically, as he put it at the end of the video, a love letter to our childhood. And he does show his honest opinion. He does have his honest opinion when he says, when you're seeing Mickey Mouse, you don't see a revamping of Mickey Mouse. You see Mickey Mouse. And with Bugs Bunny, you don't see a revamping of Bugs Bunny. You see Bugs Bunny. So great, honest opinion on it. And basically, as he said, he looks at it as a love letter to our childhood. So overall, I know I said honest opinion and all that, honest a lot, his honest opinion a lot in this video, but that's what it was. That's basically what Doug Walker, Nostagia Critic's Disneycember series was. His honest opinions and reviews on all the Disney films and feature films and related feature films that they had made. So my review and thoughts on his series, 10 stars, man. I mean, you got it. If you have not checked it out yet, go and check it out on YouTube. Like I said, there are two people that have it. One has a kind of backwards kind of deal. Not backwards like, okay, you're going in reverse. Just basically turned around to where it'll say Disney on this side and Sember on this side and say Disneycember. So definitely check out the review when you can. And again, like I said, there's another person or so that has it the right way. So check it out if you can. It does clock in around 3 hours and 35 minutes, which basically took me, when I downloaded the thing, downloaded it courtesy of keepfit.com and put it onto DVD eventually, courtesy of my Xbox 360 and my DVD recorder. It does clock in at, like I said, 3 hours and 35 minutes. So